Good afternoon to you. Mark out of HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It is Tuesday, the 13th of October, 2020. I'm back from Louisiana after dealing with Hurricane Delta down there. Very successful field mission. A lot of data collected, a lot of video collected, and in that video, there is data. We will go over that in the coming weeks and months, and especially next year as part of our Season 2 of our new series, The Hurricane Highway, but that's next year. For now, it's still hurricane season, and we got to take a look at what's going on out there. There's still some stuff to keep an eye on. We look at this vorticity signature chart for today, and it should jump out at you right there. That is Invest Area 93L, east of the windwards and leewards, producing some showers and thunderstorms. I'll show you that on the satellite imagery in just a minute. But that's that ball of vorticity that we kind of look for. Elsewhere across the deep tropics, really nothing else down there. These are some sharp troughs and fronts coming through. This is actually the leftovers of Tropical Storm Norbert in the eastern Pacific. Not going to bother anybody, at least directly. So let's move along to the satellite imagery here, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits. And you can see there's the remnants of Norbert out here off the coast of the Baja. A little bit of cloud cover, maybe some rain showers from it, but certainly not a big problem. Over here, this is Invest Area 93L, and to the west of there, through the Gulf and the Caribbean, nothing. Nice and clear, which is excellent. That's good. But 93L is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, it's trying to develop some showers and thunderstorms in the face of some very strong upper-level winds that are cutting out of the west here, 30 to 40 knots running right into it, and yet it's trying to produce this deep convection. There's even a few speckles of lightning in there, as indicated by the little yellow dots. It has a fairly vigorous low-level circulation right in here that you can clearly see, and we've seen other tropical storms form out in the Atlantic that either were a depression or a storm that had a name that looked around the same organized fashion as this does. So I'm not saying it should get a name, but we've seen, I think, less organized systems have a name before. But the thing is, it's not bothering anybody. There's shipping interest out there. Sure, you got to be careful if you're out in any of the larger container ships. If there's any shipping lanes out there, I know nothing about that. The maritime shipping lanes. But for you folks here in the islands, whether you're in Barbados, Trinidad, Tobago, up through Guadeloupe, Antigua, St. Bart's, and points west, nope, you don't really have to worry about this developing, but this energy that's going to come through this tropical wave with this low pressure center on it will be heading in your general direction over time, and so you could see an increase in showers and storms and gusty winds, kind of squally weather. So just be aware of that this little packet of energy right here, that we look at it as a ball of vorticity. It's nice and round, but it's also sensible weather, weather that you can feel, and it's bigger than you. So it's going to be moving in this general direction, the northern part of it, probably over here. So yeah, there could be some showers and storms. Maybe it can help fill your water tanks, your cisterns, as they call it, down there, your fresh water. You got to have that. But other than that, I don't see much potential that this will develop any further than it is right now. This shear is forecast to stay pretty relentless. All right, as we look ahead to the future of this system, it certainly is located over water temperatures that are above average. That's where it is right now. And those oranges in there in the background, that represents sea surface temperatures that are around 1 degree Celsius, or maybe even higher than that, above the long-term average, right through here. And in fact, all of the Caribbean Sea and the area to the southwest Atlantic and then around Florida here, still running above the long-term average. Water temperatures are warmer than we would normally see them this time of year. And as I pointed out yesterday, we also have this developing, strengthening La Nina, the abnormal cooling of the tropical Pacific through here. And as I talked about yesterday, that generally means less wind shear through here. Doesn't mean none, but usually less. We'll do the less than sign. So usually less wind shear across the Atlantic, especially the deep tropical Atlantic, coming out of the Caribbean and into the western parts of the MDR. Out here, really not as affected too much by what happens with El Nino or La Nina. and neither is the Gulf of Mexico. It's usually the Caribbean, and when you have less wind shear in the Caribbean, you can get some really, really intense hurricanes. We think about Wilma 15 years ago. I showed this yesterday. Hurricane Michelle back in 2001. Both of these very solid hurricanes. Wilma, of course, Category 5. Pressure got down into the low 880s. So the Caribbean is definitely capable anywhere in this vicinity of producing intense hurricanes in October. And there are other examples. Mitch in 1998. So, and more recently with Delta, keep in mind that was a Category 4 over here between Jamaica and the approaching the Yucatan. Now, luckily, it started to weaken, but just remember, it is still very much hurricane season, and Florida is most vulnerable at this time of year, especially the peninsula down here, from these hurricanes that round the bend and head your way. Usually not from the east, it's usually from the west and the southwest. Sometimes, like in 1999, I think it was, you had Wrong Way Lenny that formed down here, and it went across the eastern parts of the Caribbean, going from west to east. I can't remember exactly what the track was, but it was definitely west to east. So the bottom line is, in a normal season, yes, you can have some big Caribbean hurricanes. And this year, with the La Nina in place, we've already had one intense one with Delta, and I am starting to suspect that we're going to see another one develop somewhere in this area in the coming days. And the upper ocean heat content certainly would support that. All this in here, and it's come down off of the peak that we saw recently. It's not white hot anymore, so to speak. Close to it, but not as bright. But it doesn't matter. This is still very formidable, solid upper ocean heat content values, meaning that the water is deep and warm at the same time. That warm layer goes down very deep, hundreds of meters in some cases. So there's ample upper ocean heat content available, and that extends into a good deal of the southeast Gulf of Mexico over here, so that if, and I'm just saying if, something were to develop and come out of the Caribbean, or Caribbean, whichever way you want to say it, and rounds the corner, and I'm just making you aware, we've gotten really, really lucky, fortunate that this part of Florida has gone unscathed this year from pretty much anything. Most of the state of Florida has not had to deal with any major hurricane problems. You certainly had some issues over here with Sally back in mid-September. That made landfall in Gulf Shores, and to the right of that, Navarre, Pensacola Beach and vicinity. Yeah, you had some issues, but down here from Tampa, even Cedar Key, points south to the Keys, no major issues this year. No watches or warnings that I can remember for those areas either. Will that streak hold? Well, let's take a look at the GFS for some answers. And I want to preface this just by saying today I'm going to look out 168 hours, 1 week. Normally we look at about 5 days. 7 days is the real stretch there. Just to kind of take a peek, kind of behind the curtain a little bit, as it were, looking under the rock, whatever you want to call it, beyond the normal scope of what we consider pretty good reliability. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 5 days in the models, the global models, what we call the numerical weather prediction. 5 days is about the limit of, where we can really, at least count on it a little bit. But we've seen this year it's been crazy with the hurricanes, right? 5 days, good grief. But that's my caveat. We're going to look at days 6 and 7 because we want to see what the pattern is. Kind of like I say in previous updates, keys to the game. Something to look for down the road. Not look forward to. There's a big difference, okay? But let's look for clues and see if those clues remain. All right, let's use blue today and outline what's what. This is 93L, the vorticity, the energy associated with it. It's the 850 millibar version layer of the GFS model, or about 5,000 feet. And again, we're looking at that cyclonic vorticity, which again, easy to spot here. I'm doing it in red, sorry, keep switching it up. This is a trough, a little shortwave trough. It's kind of short. It's not this long longitudinal trough like that. And so this is a trough right through here. And what else do we have? Some ridging over this part of the world right here. And there's some ridging out over the Atlantic over here. And then this weakness in between. So you got it? All right. So let's look at this hour by hour. We're going out to 24 hours, and you can see the energy associated with 93L all through here, approaching the islands. So again, maybe some inclement weather, but that's about it. But, be careful. You can get some gusty winds, a couple of lightning strikes. It could be kind of unpleasant. At 36 hours, that system is moving through the islands. And it's going to be interesting because our man Brent, he's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana today. He's going to fly home, I believe, Thursday or Friday, somewhere around there. And by Thursday afternoon, what's left of 93L, the energy associated with it, passing through the Virgin Islands. So Tim, you and Brent down there, Carlos over in San Juan, and anybody else down. I just know these people personally. I've never met Tim in person, but certainly have met Brent and Carlos. But the bottom line is you guys are going to have to deal with this tropical wave. And look, you can even see the wind shift here. The trades are coming in like this, and they kind of bend a little bit, and then they just kind of straighten back out through there. See that? There's another bend, and they straighten back out. Another bend right up there, straightens back out. There's your tropical wave. That's not exactly the axis, but you get the idea. It's a perturbation in not only the pressure field, but the wind field down there in the deep tropics. All right, keep on with moving out into the future. This is 72 hours. Not much really going on with 93L. It kind of dissipates. The energy kind of goes away for the most part over the Dominican Republic. So going out to 96 hours. And there's a couple of things to note here. Now we're starting to get this general bending of the wind field through the Western Caribbean here. The air is starting to kind of converge through here. It's very broad, but it is starting to pile up all through here. And that's important because, why? When air piles up and converges where it comes together, it rises. Certainly at the surface of the earth, and it can't go down into the ocean, so it rises. So we're starting to see this convergence of air coming through. It's slowing down through here, and then it's starting to converge and pile up, kind of like a bunch of elephants running along, like 1,000 elephants, and then the whole front of them collapses, maybe one of them trips, and all of them pile up on top of each other. It's quite the visual, isn't it? Well, that's what the air is doing down in the Caribbean. It's starting to pile up. And that convergence leads to convection, the buildup of heat, and the lowering of pressure, generally speaking. You add to it a little bit of this energy in here, maybe from 93L, the incipient tropical wave, then you might start to see the spark. All right, so out here at day 1, or hour 120, 120 days, hour 120, even more pronounced of this, the piling up of the air here. Everything's just kind of coming together. The vorticity is going to start to increase. The moisture increases out here at day 6. And now, at day 6, you start to see some of these wind barbs. There's clearly counterclockwise rotation down here, and the air is coming together even more. You should start to see cloud cover in here, etc. Fairly robust. And, there's an interesting little feature over here we'll have to keep an eye on. I mean, it's just a busy season. But this is the area that we really have to watch. That is day 6. And at day 7, 168 hours out, at least in the GFS here, a definite pronounced area of rotation right down here. And I would think that within 48 hours, here's the key here. This is what we need to look for. 48 hours from now, so Thursday when I do this update, we just might see the first yellow kind of indication from the Hurricane Center, what we call its outlooked. It's a verb. It gets outlooked, that they issue one of those tropical weather outlooks, for a low probability of development. Gradual development is expected over the next several days, whatever. Because this is a week out, and that outlook goes out to 5 days, so it would stand to reason that if this is going to happen, we should start to see that showing up in the outlook in about 48 hours, all right? And then from here, Sure, you can go look at the model and see what happens. It develops a hurricane out of it. But that's so far out in time, I don't care. I don't, because it's more than a week away. There's no sense in trying to even figure it out, speculate. We know from climatology what is possible. And these are just two examples. We know that we have something that could trigger it, and this is all part of the pattern as well in climatology this time of year. It is expected in that area we're going to have a more favorable upper level pattern. Where is it? I lost it. The water temperatures, the La Nina. It just generally suggests, the overall pattern does, that we should look to that region in about a week. And I think that's a gift that we're given. Don't look at this as, oh, you got to be kidding me. It is kind of getting old here, but we do at least know that they're coming far in advance compared to tornadoes, earthquakes, and even man-made nonsense, terrorist attacks or whatever, right? Seriously. When we have warning like this and we can be aware and be on top of it and understand the process, I think we can appreciate getting ready for it better because we are invested in it. It doesn't come as a surprise, and we are not left trying to figure out what to do and scramble. That is the benefit of the numerical weather prediction models. All right? It's guidance, and it's guiding us towards, we got to start looking out. All right, real quick, for those of you that are current patrons, supporters, or HurricaneTrack Insider, maybe you've been a HurricaneTrack Insider supporter for 15 years. That's when we started. It was in 2005. Right now, we're in the age of this new revolution of crowdfunding. It's always been crowdfunded. It's just now it's really starting to take off. We've got a new model that we're using through Patreon, etc. So this Thursday, I am going to host a live patron/supporter only YouTube event where I'm going to basically give my version of a State of the Union. Where have we come from? Where have we gone? And where do I want to go? The past, the present, and the future. That's going to be 7:30 p.m. this Thursday evening. I'll have a special web page built. I put a blog about it today on Patreon, but I'm just telling you now. I have a special web page built. This video format will be full screen. I will look much nicer. I will have shaved and have a nice shirt on and all that. And we're just going to talk. I'm going to have a list. You will have the chat. The special web page will have a chat for you so that you can throw out ideas and talk amongst yourselves about what I'm talking about. And we're going to talk about the future, what we can do with this. We're going to have the off season coming up eventually. And what are we going to do in the off season? Spring weather, next hurricane season, the Hurricane Highway television series, well, internet show, whatever you want to call it, and other stuff, how you can get involved. Any suggestions. In fact, I got a suggestion a little while ago from a guy named Matt over in Austin. Wait until you guys hear this. Holy cow. I'm saving it for tomorrow night. So you will be able to email me. Check out the Patreon post that I did for my email address there if you have anything you want to suggest. Hey, Mark, I would love for you to do this or whatever. Let me know. And you can even send it in a private message through Patreon or comment on Patreon, because all of these videos, they go to Patreon first, and then about 15 minutes later I make them public. All right, so that's this Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, for patrons only, and no matter what level you are supporting this project at, if that's bad grammar, I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter, $1 to whatever, doesn't matter. Any tier, you're invited, Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And then once we're done, I will make the video public, and other people can see it, and maybe you want to get involved. I think you might after I talk about what I'm going to talk about. All right? We've made a lot of progress. It's incredible, and let's see what we can do with it and make it even bigger and better. That's the way I look at it. All right, you guys have a good rest of your Tuesday. Thanks, as always, for giving me a little part of your day. I appreciate your time and attention. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.